Okay, so good morning, everybody. I am Karen Groh. I'm the president and CEO at the Lebanon Valley Chamber of Commerce. We are your hosts today for this wonderful webinar. This webinar is being presented by SCORE, and if you're not familiar with SCORE, they are an amazing group of volunteers, of retired or semi-retired executives who volunteer their services to help businesses and organizations to achieve their goals, to make changes, to talk through business issues, and to plan things out. Let me just go ahead and use that. Okay, so if you have any interest in getting some business advice at no cost to you, I would suggest reaching out to SCORE Lancaster, or lancasterscore.org, or lancaster.score.org, sorry, and look for sign up for a mentor, and they'd be happy to set you up with somebody. So I'm going to turn this over to Joann in a second. I will tell you that protocol today is to try to keep yourself muted until we get to the Q&A in the end. If you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to put it in the chat window. If you are on a phone and you cannot put it in the chat window, we will open it up to unmuting at the end of the presentation, and everybody can then ask verbal questions at that time. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Joann Brayman, who has the most amazing background in marketing and advertising, and we're very lucky to have her sharing her expertise here. Joann?
Thank you, Karen, and good morning, everyone. It is great to be here. And I know the topic that we have for today is often pretty enticing for people, since we're calling it really no money marketing. That's how I refer to it. It's very low cost marketing. And I would say most businesses are looking for low cost marketing solutions. So many of you are on the call, and from my past experience, I know that so many people want to know about social media. And I will get to social media eventually in this presentation, but I wanted to make sure that you understand that there are many ways to promote yourself and promote your business beyond social media. So my objective today is to leave you with a portfolio of marketing options and marketing ideas that will work best for your business. And all of them will be low cost, maybe not no cost, but very low cost offers. So let's get started. Karen, if you want to bring up the presentation, and we'll go to the first tip, which is called Get Your Product Right. Perfect. So the phrase that you see at the top is probably one of my favorite phrases. Good promotion can't sell a bad product. So if you don't have a good product, you're in trouble. All the social media in the world isn't going to work. All the advertising in the world is not going to work. So work first on your product. And I know many of you have probably been in business for a while now, and you may be saying to yourself, yes, but my product is set. It's already in place. Well, I'd like you to think about the concept of augmentation, augmenting your product to bring more value to the market. And what do I mean by that? I think each and every one of you, if I had a chance to talk to you individually, would tell me that you have a certain core product option. So if I'm in the electrolysis business, my core product is hair removal. If I'm in a landscape business, maybe my core product is, again, lawn care, mowing, trimming, weeding. But if you think about it, there are many ways to augment that core product to make it more valuable for people. And that is part of getting your product right. So let me give you a couple of examples. So back to my electrolysis example. How could an electrolysis operator bring more value to the marketplace? Well, what if they offered extended hours, 3 days a week, and they were open until 8 or 9 o'clock at night? That's still part of your product. You're making your product more valuable. What if they offered cancer skin checks as they're working on you? Definitely a value-added service. They might offer a payment plan so that you can afford the services over time. They might offer free estimates. Landscapers also offer free estimates often as part of their augmented product. So all of these things are ways to get your product right. There's another thing to consider when I talk about product. Do some testing on your product. Get feedback from people. You may think that you have the best product in the world, but get some feedback from the marketplace, from your target audience, and find out whether they think it's the best product in the world. I had a client recently at SCORE that had tote bags and took them out to festivals to sell. And they were giving their proceeds to a nonprofit organization that they were very passionate about. And they spent a lot of time thinking about that nonprofit, but not as much time thinking about the appearance of the bag. So at the end of the day, if they don't have a bag that people visually like, maybe the functionality of the bag wasn't there, maybe the material of the bag wasn't the right material, it really doesn't matter what nonprofit they're giving their proceeds to, because people are not going to buy that bag. So again, make sure that you get your product right first. Number 2 tip, and by the way, just a heads up, I have 10 tips today, so we're going to rattle through these. Number 2, get your name and your branding right. So a lot of you, again, have been in business for a while, and the name of your business, the name of your product, the name of your company is set. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I can tell you, if you're still in the stage of your business formation of developing a name, the best names are names that have some description of the product or service that you're providing, or the point of difference that you have. So that means that the best names require the least advertising, because when you hear the name, you know immediately what business that company is in. Let me give you an example. Am familiar with a company called Evening Shadows. And Evening Shadows is a pretty interesting name, but if you really quiz people on what Evening Shadows is, what do they do, what business is that company, I bet very few of you would say they're in patio lighting, because that's what they do. They do landscape lighting. And Evening Shadows is sort of a tough leap to go from Evening Shadows to landscape lighting. So there are probably other name options for a company like that that would be more indicative of what they do. I have another client whose company is called Medicare Madness. Now that one is a little more descriptive of what the company does. And I think if any of you are close to or have relatives that you've tried to help through the Medicare system and getting signed up, you can probably come to appreciate the madness that really does exist with Medicare selection. So that name, Medicare Madness, is actually a pretty good name to get people to understand what the core offering is, and that maybe your company is there to help those people bring some logic to the selection of Medicare. So good names count. They are important to your business. The second part of this equation, though, is your branding overall. And the way I like to think about branding is this. If you asked a group of people, word association, give them the name of your company and ask them what comes to mind when you hear that name, what words or phrases do you think of? So again, for the company Medicare Madness, what words or phrases come to mind when you hear the word Medicare Madness? And maybe you have some familiarity with the business itself. Those are your brand associations. People will develop those whether you are intentional about it or not. So the best practice in marketing is to be intentional about your branding. Come up with the words, the phrases, the associations that you want people to have around your brand. And then everything that you do should be in support of that. So if you're in the beer business, and one of the ways you want to differentiate yourself and part of your branding is to provide beer education to your customers when they come in the door, you'll want to make sure that all your promotional efforts, everything that you do supports that. Your employees need to be trained. Maybe you develop special signage that you put in front of each of your beers. There's lots of different opportunities you can take, but you want to make sure that you are intentional about what you want to stand for as a brand. And everything else that I talk about in the next 50 minutes need to be associated with your branding. Make sure that it's supportive of your branding. So let's keep going. Number 3, this might cost you a little bit of money, but it might not as well. So it's definitely worth considering. Open up new channels to market as a potential to grow your business. So what I'm thinking about here is if you're developing buyers today only in one way, ask yourself whether there are other methods to develop new buyers. In other words, if you're online with Etsy, should you be online in Amazon Marketplace, as an example? If you're in store, should you also be online? If you're only online, should you have a physical presence for your product as well? We have a client at SCORE who's in the floral business. And during the pandemic, she was very heavily into weddings. And of course, her business was severely hurt during the pandemic. But she was very clever and very interested in new channels to market. So she thought about other ways that she could get her product there. One of the things that she looked into was going to local bakeries and having a stand in a bakery location with her bouquets, her floral bouquets. People could start the day with a donut and some flowers on their way out the door. She also looked at going into a market house situation where there are multiple vendors and she could open up a small stand. She looked at a roadside stand to sell her floral bouquets as well. So she was very clever and very interested in finding new ways to get her product to market because her main channel to market, which was selling to brides, was drying up. So again, think very creatively about that. If you're in the B2B field and you're a consultant, you may be selling your consulting services directly, but is there some other business that you could partner with and work with them as a subcontractor? For me personally, I've done some marketing consulting work. I do that on my own, but I also work with an advertising agency that uses me as a subcontractor with their clients. I don't have to go out and cultivate that business. They do that. But when they need my skills, they give me a call and I go to work for them. So it's a whole new channel to market for me. And it means that I can get into the marketplace to approach more buyers for my services in a very different and again, a low cost way. So let's move on to number 4. Tip number 4 is create great marketing content. What do I mean by marketing content? Articles, photos, videos, all of those things are content. We're going to talk about in the next few minutes where that content goes, what you do with great marketing content. But great marketing content is so important because it does a couple of things. It helps to support your brand, like we talked about before. If you're in the beer business and you want to create a position for yourself as an educator of beers, so come to us. We will help you find exactly the right beer for your taste. Your content should support that concept. It also helps to build your credibility. So you always want to be creating great marketing content. Now, this is a place where you may say to yourself, but yes, doesn't this cost money? And it certainly can. You can hire people to do some of this work for you. But today, the good news is a lot of people are very forgiving of things like video quality. You can get out your iPhone and you can start taking videos and post those videos and be very credible. And of course, our technology has improved to the point that that quality is pretty darn good. So you can do much of this yourself. You can write articles yourself. You can find published articles, and you certainly want to make sure that you append those, footnote those, so that people know where they're coming from. But you can also search for existing content that exists in the big digital world out there and repurpose that content, as long as, again, you give attribution to that content. So you want to have great content, very important. Give you some examples here. So if I'm in the bakery business, and part of my story as a baker is that I have been using my grandmother Jane's recipes, and Grandma Jane makes great stuff. And so I've picked that up, and that's sort of the foundation of my business. I might do things like have interviews with Grandma Jane, video interviews. I might video Grandma making those sugar cake cookies. I might publish Grandma's recipes. That's a content piece. I might have content that I've developed on how to throw a great party, a dessert party with baked goods as the star of that party. I might create some content on the best birthday cakes for 4-year-olds. And then, of course, there's the best birthday cakes for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. All of that is great marketing content if I'm in the bakery business. I might want to take photos of a cake that's displayed in 3 different ways on 3 different dishes to show people how your presentation of your baked goods can make a huge difference in the atmosphere, the party that you're creating. So there's lots of content that would be available to you. You're only limited by what your creativity can come up with there. Instructional videos, if you have anything at all in your product that is a working mechanism, you know, how to install, how to assemble, you want to make sure that you have videos of those. You also may want to make sure that those photos are completely up to date that you're using, and continue to publish new photos all the time. So what I'm talking about here is creating this sort of library of content. And then it's up to you to repurpose that content in different ways, different places. And those are the things I'm going to talk about. So things like website, email marketing, social media. Great content works across those mediums. So if you've done a great job with your content, you'll be able to repurpose it in many times and places to minimize the work that you have to put into it. Again, let's keep going. Number 5, create and update your website. Again, I'm assuming that many of you have already great websites. So number 5, I'll let you flip that forward, Karen. create and update your website. There we go. But it is very important, and that's why I'm assuming many of you already have your website in place and you're doing a good job with your website. So the website is truly the foundation of your digital marketing. It is not an optional element. You must have a website. It legitimizes your business, and today it's the world that we live in. You must be able to find someone digitally. So you can create your own website. I've worked with SCORE clients, many new businesses who find that they have little, if any, money at all, and they'll create their own website using platforms like WordPress. Today, about 35% of all websites are on the WordPress platform. It's very easy to use, and I do believe that most people could do it, but I know not all of you feel comfortable with that. And this is a time where you may want to go out and hire someone to do some web creation for you. And for all of you out there who already have a website, here are a few tips on your website. And my most important tip is keep your website changing. Every couple of weeks, make sure that you update your website in some way. And why do I say that? Because so many people are searching for businesses digitally. And the way that Google in particular, which is the web crawler that more people use than any other, they will give priority to websites in terms of listings, the websites that change their content on a more frequent basis. So they crawl the entire internet every about 3 weeks. And if every 3 weeks they see that your website is exactly the same as it was the prior 3-week period, all of a sudden you will start to see your website slip lower and lower in terms of web results. So again, one of the ways to get around that is to continue to update your website. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be updating your tags. It can be updating your captions. You may want to make sure that your captions are reflecting all the search terms that people are using to find your website today. Any new search terms, again, if I'm in the landscape business today, I would probably want to go into my website and make sure that I had lanternflies tagged at various places on my website so that if anyone was searching lanternfly help, I might be the one who comes up near the top of that list. So you want to make sure that your tags are up to date, that your images are up to date, add a new video if you have it, add a new file name. If you just update the names of your files to appropriately represent the search terms that people are using, that will help your search engine optimization. There are 3 different Google tools that I want you to be aware of. And each of these 3 have videos, many videos, in fact, that exist if you go out into the search engines. The first one is Google Trends. That helps you identify what search terms people are using and coming back with to find your business. The next one is Google Search Console. And this actually links to your Google Analytics page. So you should all have a Google business page. I kind of skipped that step because I'm assuming you all have that. But again, you want to have and be knowledgeable of Google Search Console. And the last one, of course, is Google AdWords. There is an opportunity to buy words that will allow people to get to you more efficiently, but it does cost you money. So things that used to be free that we could do on the internet are no longer free. And Google AdWords are, it's one of those services that allows you to jump to the top of the listings when someone would download all the landscapers in Lebanon County as an example. So just go in and become familiar with those 3 tools, and it's really simple to do. Each of those could be a webinar in and of themselves, so I don't have time to go through each of those, but I encourage you to take the time to learn more about each of those to help your search engine optimization. So the next one.
And if I could interrupt for just 1 second, we are a Grow with Google partner, and we have a number of Google webinars coming up listed on our website. There is one on understanding analytics and other things about SEO that everybody can take part in as well. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. That's great. Number 6, be active on social media. Now, I know a lot of you are already active on social media, but the first thing you want to do is to figure out which social media. So if you're in the business to consumer world, you may want to be on Facebook. You want to be on something that is a little more consumer oriented. But if you're in the B2B world, you probably want to be on LinkedIn as an example. I know I did some quick numbers. In Lebanon County, you have about 142,000 people, and about 100,000 of those people are on Facebook today. So I know people are feeling like Facebook is going away, but Facebook hasn't gone away. Facebook is still alive and well. So be active on social media, but be selective about which social media makes the most sense based upon your company and your product offering. But the thing that you need to be aware of is this, that as people have figured out how to make money using social media, and that includes the Facebook platform, Facebook has become very selective about what goes through people's news feeds. And the best example I can give you, perhaps you have a friend on Facebook and you go into their profile directly and you look at their postings and you say to yourself, wow, I don't remember seeing this, and I don't remember seeing this one. And you realize all of a sudden that even though they're one of your friends on Facebook, you're only seeing a small proportion of their posts. And for businesses, that percentage is even smaller. It's estimated that only about 5 to 10% of what businesses post are seen by or go into the news feed of their followers. So you may be counting on a whole lot of people who follow you and like you seeing each and every one of your posts, and that simply is not the case. That does not happen in today's Facebook world. So the way to encourage more people to see your posts is to have them engage with you. So if they like your posts, if they click on, if they share, all of those kinds of activities, if they would click through to your website, those would be more engaged people, and then they're more likely to see the posts that you have put on. So that's why you want to try and post things that engage people. Again, if I'm in that bakery business, I'm probably going to show them 3 different kinds of cake every now and then and ask people to vote for what their favorite cake is, and then guarantee that you will make it the following week. That gets people engaged, and then they are more likely to see your posts in the future. So you really have to get clever about that. The alternative on social media is you have to pay for advertising. So you can either pay to boost your posts, meaning if you have 1,000 followers, you could pay to have 10,000 people see your post. And when you pay for it, it does indeed go into their news feeds. Now, whether they actually click on it, recognize it, read it, that's a whole different story. But at least they have the opportunity to be exposed to it. But it will cost you money to do that. The alternative, of course, is to put an ad in. And I encourage everyone to be familiar with ad managers so that you can see what profile of people you can select from. There's quite a bit of targeting you can do so that the people that your message is going to becomes a very targeted and a very tight audience, which is exactly what you want. So again, advertising is an option. You can set the money that you want to spend, and it will lock that in for you so that you don't exceed that money. You can set a budget for yourself monthly and spend it against buying additional people so that you know for sure they have an opportunity to see what it is you're talking about. You know, the reason I really like social media is because it gives you a chance to talk in the voice of your brand personality. You know, all the things that we talked about before. Again, if I'm in the beer business and I want to educate people on beer, I want my social media to reflect that too. I might, in my posts, talk about new breweries that I've come across and maybe what differentiates their beer from that brewery. I'm going to make sure that that education foundation that is part of my brand becomes part of my social media as well. And I also want that social media to reflect the relationship that I want to form with my customers, with the folks I'm trying to talk to. It shouldn't be strictly about selling. In fact, it should be minimally about selling. Instead, it should be about allowing people to see your brand personality coming to like you and trust you and believe in you and believe that you are a company that they want to buy from. So again, not a lot about selling, not a lot about here's our latest new product, it costs this much and it's available in this location. It's more about, let's talk about the problem that people have and how we might be addressing that with a new product and what that problem that people have might actually be. So it's a little bit of a different approach when you're thinking about social media and how to get people's attention. Let me make sure, let me check my notes real quickly. Again, set a budget, make sure that you get people to engage. Okay, let's keep going. Number 7, use email marketing. I am a huge fan of email marketing, and I've become a bigger fan of email marketing as social media has begun to become more expensive for people to actually get that substantial audience that they're looking for. Email marketing, you control. You collect the email addresses of the folks that you want to have. You need to make that a priority in your business. And there are lots of creative ways to do that. As an example, we just added to the SCORE website a pop-up. So when someone goes into the SCORE website, the pop-up comes up and it says, would you like to receive our monthly newsletter? And of course, to receive the monthly newsletter, they have to register their email address. And we then use it, we append our list, and that individual receives our newsletter monthly. Our email list then grows, which is again, more power for us. And we definitely use our email addresses that we have in a substantial way. So you want to make sure that you're collecting email addresses. If you offer a free webinar, people will have to register their emails. If you have a physical location, a store or a restaurant, that's ideal because then you can put a clipboard at the checkout. that says to receive free offers, please enter your email address. You can run a contest and collect email addresses. You should always include, though, that checkbox giving yourself permission to send them information. Maybe you begin to invoice people by email. So obviously you've got to have their email addresses in order to invoice them. So emails are critical. And I know some of you say, oh, I hate getting emails myself. So therefore, I don't want to inundate my customers, my potential customers, with emails. Well, if any of you are like me, I get a lot of emails every day. I click through them pretty quickly. I've become pretty efficient at deleting them. And again, I can tell you that there are certain locations, certain businesses that I might get 3 or 4 a day, each and every day. And I bet I delete 25 out of 26 of those emails. But there's one email that has a subject line that is so interesting that I'm going to click on it. And I agree to receive those other 25 just so I can get the 26 that I'm interested in. And I think most people operate in a somewhat similar fashion. They are very tolerant of email messages coming in, but they certainly do not open all of them. So you want to make sure that subject lines are very well thought out. They are extremely important. One reason they're important is because it could mean that your email will end up in spam, which of course is a bad thing. Emails that have the subject line, there is a typo in it, exclamation points, things like that will often send your email into spam. So you want to make sure that you're very careful about your subject lines. I saw an article recently giving some advice on the best subject lines, and they used 3 different terms. They said, try and make sure that your subject line refers to either scarcity, curiosity, or social proof. What do I mean by that? So scarcity is pretty obvious, only 4 left, you know, that kind of subject line. Curiosity could be, this is how we doubled our business. And of course, if it's from a business that you're interested in, you're probably going to click on that. They're saying, wow, they doubled their business. I'd love to double my business. I'm going to click on that message. Social proof, something like over 5,000 Lebanonites use our meal plan every day. So that's a business that is already hooked into the community, and you may say to yourself, wow, a lot of my neighbors, my friends must be using this service. So a little bit of social proof can go a long way to get an individual to click through. So I mentioned that spam is an issue. And again, 1 out of 5 emails will end up in spam unless you're pretty careful. One of the ways to do that is to get them to add you to their contact list. When you collect an email address, you should definitely send a message back to them asking them, again, permission to contact them on an ongoing basis with an opt-out as an option. And you want to send them kind of a welcome email that says, welcome to our newsletter list. We're so pleased that we'll be able to update you with information on a monthly basis. Please add us to your contacts so that we do not end up in your spam mailbox. So that's a really simple step. And again, it's a nice greeting for new people who are on your list. A couple of other things, use a spam checker before you send out your email message. There is something called emailable, M-A-I-L-A-B-L-E. You can go into that website, you can plug in your email message, and it will come back and let you know whether you're highly likely to go into a spam mailbox. The other thing you should do is clean your email list on a fairly frequent basis. Spam filters actually check to see if you're cleaning your list. So it will be less likely to go into spam if you clean your email list. So if you do get into email marketing in a more substantial way, you probably want to consider some options like Constant Contact or MailChimp to help you manage the process. They're both very good tools. At a low level of email marketing, they are free because they offer up to a certain number of emails on a free basis. But beyond that, they are also very inexpensive, so low cost. But I strongly encourage you to use one of those services. They're really up to date. They give you the opportunity to stage your emailings for certain days of the week, time of the day, and so forth. So let's keep going. Number 8, engage in guerrilla marketing. This is my favorite. This is the one I get most excited about. And by definition, guerrilla marketing is low cost. It's unconventional, creative, and low cost. There's no book you can open up and give you all these great guerrilla marketing ideas, but I'm going to give you examples so that you know what I'm talking about by guerrilla marketing. So if you do an open house as a result of the pandemic, a lot of people close their doors to some degree, and you decide now that we are certainly much more free to be social, you may want to offer an open house of your business location. If you do, take pictures of people at that open house, print those pictures. I mean, really print them, not digital. Go to CVS, print those pictures, and then put them in an envelope with a thank you note to that individual saying, thank you for attending our open house. Here's something for your memory bank to record the evening. We really love seeing you. Now, it's personal. Everyone will star D or click and delete a digital photo, but a physical photo is a much harder thing to throw in the wastebasket. So there you are, memorialized for your open house. If you have a physical business location, do sidewalk chalk. Do something promotionally, or hire an art student to do something really interesting and engaging every couple of weeks in front of your store location. Remember, your business card is a mini billboard. Make sure that all brand messaging, what do you stand for? What are your brand associations? How can you support that on your small little billboard, your business card? Update your signature block on your emails. So any personal emails, any other business emails that you send, make sure down at the bottom, if you have a new product, that's a great place to promote a new product. Feature new products on your invoices as well. Make your location a food bank drop-off spot. That's what I'm really talking about when I talk about do things that are different and unique. Apply for business awards. There are a lot of business awards in every single community. Apply for them. That is great publicity for you and your business. And again, it costs nothing for you. It's a great endorsement, and again, free of charge. And don't forget to handwrite those thank you notes for a substantial order that a customer may have given you. So again, guerrilla marketing, those are just some examples that I had, but I know that most of you could come up with things that are much more specific to your business. And again, a creative way to engage with your customers and promote your business. Number 9, Collaborate. One word, but boy, it means so much. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. This is a challenge that I would give to each and every one of you. I encourage you to find 3 other businesses or organizations that you could work with on an ongoing basis that would offer a win-win for both of you. I want to go back to my hair removal business. My hair removal client recently developed this concept to the max, did a great job with this. You know, she knew that she was somewhat limited by where her location is. It's off the beaten track. Her signage was not large, or again, wouldn't be seen by many people, but she was looking for low cost ways to get her name out into the community. So we talked it through and came up with a list of other businesses that she could collaborate with that would offer a win-win. So she went to a hair salon. You know, she's in the hair removal business on her face, on faces, on arms, other parts of the body. But a hair salon very rarely offers that as a service. So they are not competitive to her. She went to a massage studio as well. Then she went to a yoga studio and talked to a yoga studio owner. And each of them have now come together and they're doing some joint activities and businesses. So each week they are featuring one of the other businesses in each of their social media posts. So that means that even though each of them have different followers, different people who are seeing their social media, all of them are exposing the other businesses to their list of clients and followers, which I think is brilliant. That works well. They've also talked about doing a joint open house so that all products, all businesses are represented together in an activity. They're talking about picking a charity that all of them agree to and promoting that charity and doing something to raise funds for that charity. Perhaps it's a small portion of profits for the week. Perhaps it's more like an activity. There are some fun things that you could do, like a treasure hunt, where customers need to visit each of the businesses, and you get a card and you get to stamp those cards. And if someone goes to each of the 5 businesses or 4 businesses, a $50 donation is made to the charity that they've selected. Now, the best part about that is they would tag all of that on their social media with the name of the charity, which now means that it has an opportunity to be seen by the followers of that charity as well, by that nonprofit organization. So again, you're multiplying your efforts, you're multiplying your exposure, your voice is seen and heard by so many other people that you normally wouldn't have an opportunity to. Now, I have to tell you, the reason we talked about the folks that they did bring into this little group of collaborators, they thought through their target market. And their target market definition was middle to higher income females over the age of 40. So that's really drove them to who they should collaborate with. And again, I thought it was brilliant. They're doing a good job with that. They're getting it up and running. And almost any business could do something like that. I had another example. At one point, I worked at Armstrong, and I think we have some Armstrongers on the line. But we worked with distributors who sell to contractors, and most of those contractors use box trucks. And of course, box trucks every now and then need to be washed. We had one distributor who went down the street and had a truck car wash near him. He went to the truck car wash and he was able to get the truck car wash to give him coupons for several dollars off on every truck car wash. He took those coupons and put them at his will call desk. So as the contractors came in to pick up their stuff, they could pick up one of these coupons. What, again, a brilliant idea to support another business and also look like a hero to their customers because they're giving them a coupon. So again, the sky's the limit in terms of collaboration. So last but not least, number 10, cultivate reviews. You know, before I got on the phone today, I went into Google and I just did a quick Google search of landscapers in Lebanon. And I believe my count stopped at about 45, but I think there were even more than that. And obviously you begin to scroll through. So if I was legitimately looking for a landscaper in Lebanon, I would be scrolling down through this really long list of businesses. And of course, one of the ways that many customers and future customers make their decision on which one to click on, which one to call, is the review that's listed, or the score, not so much the review itself, but the number of stars. If there's a business there without any reviews versus a business that has positive reviews, for me personally, and I know for many others, you're more likely to click on the business that has positive reviews. So don't be scared of reviews. Cultivate those reviews. They help you to bounce further to the top in the Google listings. And again, they're a decision point for people. They help to differentiate your business from any other business that's listed. So please, please, please take advantage of reviews. If you get a bad review, don't sweep it under the rug. Make sure you respond to that review, respond to it publicly so that others can see the response that the business has made to that review, and offer to recontact them, offer to make it right, offer to investigate further, thank them for their feedback. It's very much appreciated so that you as a business can continue to improve. So again, we all sort of cringe when we talk about reviews. They're definitely a good news, bad news story, but I encourage you to embrace them, use them to your advantage, and they are free. Remember that. So those are my top 10 free or no cost marketing tips. Karen, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Joann. That was, I was taking notes myself. That was amazing. And I have a long list of things that I should be working on myself here too. So at this time, is there anybody who has questions that they would like to ask? You may unmute yourself or you can put them in the chat window. Nothing?
I have a comment.
Yes, Jay.
Oh, Jay.
How are you? I am sharing an example of somebody who had wine stores. And what he did, he had a wine expert write reviews of some of the wines which will go with the food in certain neighborhood restaurants. So the restaurants got advertisement, and he got, because they were like BYOB type of restaurants. So he could sell as well as the restaurants got the business. It was a good collaboration, but with a wine expert and put it the right content. Thank you.
Jay, that's a fabulous example of collaboration as well as guerrilla marketing.
That is really good. Any other comments or questions? I'll mention that we do, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I did have a question. Thank you so much. I took a lot of notes also. And I just wanted to ask a little more about your last point with the reviews, and you mentioned to make it easy. So at this point, I'm basically emailing them a link after our appointment, and I'm giving them a link to click on and leave a Google review. That doesn't produce, it's produced some reviews, but do you have other suggestions? And then I feel like I have reviews on my website and I have some reviews on Google. Can I link them together? And is there easier ways to, other ways I should say, to get those reviews that you would suggest?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And frankly, I think what you're doing is the right thing to do. I can tell you, it is not possible to add website reviews, or if you have reviews under one service, you can't marry those up with, as an example, your Google business reviews. Okay. So they stand independently. But again, it's not a bad thing to make sure that in different places that people are contacting you, they're able to get those reviews. So that's all good. Recently, I had some tree trimming service work done, and with my invoice they sent to me digitally, they also sent me the link. It was super simple to do. I am not one of those people who writes reviews very often, but they made it one click so easy that I actually went in and gave them a review, and I had a positive service. So they were very actively engaging with people and encouraging reviews. There are people who give incentives for reviews. Personally, I'm okay with that, but I think that you want to make sure that you tell people it doesn't matter if it's a good review, a bad review, you receive the incentive no matter what. And of course, all the big guys are giving incentives nowadays for reviews. So that's the other approach that you can take to cultivate more reviews.
Okay. Did you say that company emailed or texted you a link, the one that made it so easy?
They actually emailed it. So when I opened up the invoice, which I was going to print out, all I did was click on the link. And right. Again, it was so super simple.
Yeah, I do just give them one link, bam, they're in. But I guess I could text it too. That might be another option.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? I will mention that I did say earlier that we are a Grow with Google partner. We have a webinar coming up June 1st on Make Better Business Decisions with Analytics. These are presented by employees from Google, so you're hearing it directly from them. We also have one on using YouTube to grow your business on June 9th, and we have another one, Get Your Local Business on Google Search and Maps, on June 15th. Those are all free and open to anybody, so we would welcome you to sign up online and on our calendar for the chamber, lvchamber.org, and you're welcome to join us for those. Thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you so much, Joann. Your presentations are always spot on, so down to earth and realistic, and that's what I love about them. And I hope that everybody walked away with something today. If you need a mentor, yeah, don't forget to go to SCORE and ask for a mentor, and they'd be happy to help you out. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you.